Hello, good evening, and welcome to the February 19th meeting of the Needham Finance Committee. We are holding the committee in a hybrid mode, so there will be some of our members on Zoom and some here. We welcome citizens who'd like to address the Finance Committee or certainly observe our meetings, but after initial address, we'll just carry on with our meeting. So with that, I'd like to open the meeting and move to the first thing, which is, are there any citizens online that want to? No. Seeing none, we'll just move to approval of the minutes. Did everybody have an opportunity to look at the minutes?
Yes.
Yes,
I make a motion for their approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Right.
You want to take attendance first or?
Oh, we should take attendance. You're right. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's right. Before we approve the minutes, let's just take attendance. Paul,
there,
Ina. Here. Joe,
Here.
Karen. Here. John,
present.
Barry.
Here.
And Lydia. Here. And Ally was maybe going to be online, but I don't think she is here. Okay. Now, moving to the minutes. You made a motion.
I made a motion for their approval.
Who made the second?
Second.
Joe?
Yeah.
All right, can we take a vote to approve the minutes? Paul,
Yes,
Tina,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
John?
I'm gonna abstain.
Oh, that's right, you weren't here. Barry?
Yes.
Lydia was not here, and the chair votes yes. Thank you. Moving to the budget discussions. So what I'd like to turn to is the spreadsheet that I prepared last week, which has actuals for 2024 and 25 as of November. Then the original FY 26 department requests, the DSR 4 requested, and as we know, there were no DSR 4s approved. That's correct, right? Not that one. And the town manager's recommendation for the budget and the changes from fiscal year 25. And then we have to determine if there's anything that, if we agree with the town manager, or is there anything that we want to adjust in the budget? So I think what I'd like to do is just kind of go down one by one, and I'm hoping that we can get through this quickly, but we'll see. So select board and the office of the town manager. The total budget is up 2.8% in expenses.
I didn't, there's a DSR 4 listed here, but I didn't see it. I mean, I didn't,
There was a DSR 4 in there. Is that not correct?
I looked in the budget quickly. I was reviewing it earlier today. Did I miss something or?
Yeah, I didn't, I think they had a DSR 5,
Right.
Maybe that was, sorry.
yeah.
I think that would have been the DSO.
Okay.
Okay. So is there any changes anybody wants to make for the town manager? Okay. So our recommendation is the same as the town manager.
Correct.
Okay. All right, town clerk is the self-explanatory, and really that the town manager recommendation is 456,950, with a reduction to reflect a lower election number this year in FY 26 versus 2025. Any changes to that?
Is that just for the election, or does that count the census and stuff?
Exactly, that's salary for election workers, so.
Right.
Oh, okay, okay, got it.
So are we fine with the town manager's
Yes.
recommendation? All right,
Yes.
Tina? Great, thank you. Legal is just a flat billable rate, so I don't have an issue with that, but does anybody else?
No.
No,
No.
Uh, Finance Department. Okay, anybody else?
Want to speak up, Dave?
Mhm.
Are you good, Dave?
I'm good.
Holly, how do you feel about the finance committee?
It's me.
Okay. Um. Planning and community development, I have no problem with this. That's basically cost of living increases and not much else.
They're looking for an extra planner and consultant, right?
Correct.
And the reality is, if we wanted to include anything, we have to find some way to exclude, and there's been no DSR fours
Right.
that. we
Right,
get-
there is, and we'll get to it because I'm still. I don't really understand the library's budget, and so. I think they may,
When we get to it, I'll
Okay.
update you.
okay, great, appreciate that. So is everybody fine with planning and community development?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Police department. So the only thing about the police department is they're in the middle of contract negotiations,
Correct.
so,
The adjustments would come in the settlements.
correct.
No issues.
Okay, anybody have any issues with police department?
no,
Fire department. Again, there were DSR fours there, but then they said right away that they're undertaking a study, right, for personnel, fire department, so I don't have a problem with fire department. Building department. This is the one, honestly,
I would, I know where you're getting on this and go probably similarly.
yeah, I feel like,
This is a service that I think, needs to be provided and needs to have adequate personnel, but be able to provide. It's disheartening that so many inspections are not being done. And not that adding this half a FTE will solve that problem, but it.
So I wasn't here last week, so I apologize, Scott, but what are these actual inspections? Are they ongoing construction or are they like annual inspections of?
Annual.
They're annual
Well, it's the ones that aren't getting done are the annual inspections that are supposed to be done, whether it's for all commercial buildings, things like nursing homes and it's unrelated to unrelated to new construction.
Okay.
And, you know, he's also, he's
So
done,
both public and private,
correct.
buildings.
And that department, you know, I've been liaison for a number of years, it's been perpetually understaffed and it's not easy filling those positions anyway, given what we can pay.
But they have somebody there that is a half a position.
Correct, but that person is 82 years old and is uncertain as to how much longer he's gonna do it. And he would like to replace,
I mean,
I would like to be able to see this position filled, but. You know, we need to-
In my view, I'm totally with what Barry's saying. It seems to me that that department right now is being held together with, you know, the chicken wire and duct tape. And, you know, I think there could be some real exposure with their inability to do all the types of inspections they need to do. Plus, they need to do a lot of work in updating their whole scheduling
Right.
system. And you know, the head of the department, he's in his second year now. You know, he's asking for effectively $30,000. And in my view, you know, if we can find a way to do that, give it to him, I would.
Didn't he also just lose somebody? Was that correct?
Yeah, he did. this-
Yes.
Yes.
So
and
he's
December.
already understaffed.
But that,
Um,
losing that position doesn't affect the budget, because that's
Right,
in,
but it's just another stress on
right,
trying to look at the picture holistically. Also, given the fact that he was mentioning that in general, those skill sets are not easy to find.
this didn't start with him, this is something we've
No,
heard for many, many years. And I just think it's an
But it
office
seems
that
to
should
be
be,
growing, it seems to be getting worse, not
Yeah.
better. In terms of the backlog that they're not getting to. So. What would be so. I guess that's our question is, can we find $30,000 and what are the benefits associated with that? That would,
This particular position is, because it's already, funded at more than half time. The benefit costs are there. It's just a very small incremental increase. It's basically the increased cost of Medicare because it's already a health insurance qualified position.
oh, okay,
And such is already a member of the retirement system, so it's a de minimis impact.
so my idea is. We get the state aid to pay for overdrive. And have the library foundation support the website like they said they were gonna do, and then we can provide this position. Is that, am I missing something?
Well, actually, the town manager's recommendation, it is external revenues that are supporting the library overdrive and the website, and the library director agreed on FY 27 to a ESR4 request. So for 25 and for 26, it's going to become state aid. So what I'm saying, there's no money to be found from the town manager's number.
Yeah, so in other words, you go to the library, Carol.
Yeah, but that's not what it said in the write-up, actually. In the budget write-up, it didn't say that, and that's my confusion.
Yes, and yes, it's confusing, but it's not in the budget. That's why it was a DSR4 request that he submitted.
Okay,
so it was,
Okay.
so that expense.
Okay.
That's not being funded by the budget, unfortunately. So where else, there's nowhere.
We do
Sorry,
know that-
just to pipe in. Sorry, guys, it's really loud here. The $26,000 in overdrive was in the operating budget. It was not a DSR4. It's in the $130,000 of recurring expenses. It was not part of the DSR4.
that's fine.
Then that must be the base service that was approved. At least for FY 25. but-
Okay, so not the advantage is what you're saying?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
That's the basic,
Oh, so Ally, there are two overdrives, one is basic and one is advantage. So-
Right. I believe that, and I did review this again, that they added the advantage because it has been a recurring expense the last few years. They added advantage to the operating budget as a DSR 2, not a DSR 4. When I reviewed it last week, it was not part of the DSR 4. It was part of the DSR 2. Sorry, I have a lot of background noise. So, it was not part of the DSR 4 though. If you look back at the documentation, the 26,000 is definitely part of their DSR 2 request.
they don't have to request the extra funding, so if they just didn't submit a DSR 4, they were not required, but if there's funding for overdrive, it's the basic subscription, which I think is.
But Dave, I mean, to Al's point, that's what is confusing is this statement on page 303.
And I did get clarification about this from one of the trustees this week, that they did add the overdrive advantage, which pays for, it's not our overdrive subscription. It's the advantage, which we Needham pay for additional subscriptions for books that are, so that people in Needham can get them faster. It's a great service. It's something that they want to keep doing. And that's why they added it to the operating budget, because we spent that money the last few years. And so they wanted to move it away from state aid if they were testing it the last few years, and then they moved it into the operating budget. So it's not part of the DSR 4. It's now part of the operating budget. My question was just, could we keep it as part of the state aid for another year so that we could fund something else and then eventually move it if it's something that we want to continue to fund on an ongoing basis. But this is the additional advantage on top of the basic overdrive subscription.
Yeah, Ally, I'm looking at my draft of the library and I see in their library databases line of 135,000, they say this line now includes spending of $26,000 for our overdrive advantage collection of digital books and audiobooks. In previous years, overdrive advantage had been funded through the use of library state aid. But I think that's consistent with what you're saying.
So we could pull it out of the operating budget in theory.
Right.
And the other question I had asked, because I was unclear, was how much state aid they get a year. And from what one of the trustees told me, it's only about $50,000. So this is a pretty significant part of their expenses from that state aid. But I mean, to me, if we can use the state aid for another year and fund something that is maybe giving us, this potential liability, it's a good trade-off to then consider it for FY27 and rolling it into the operating budget. Because I do think that it's something they use and it's something that's worthwhile to fund, but maybe, it's an easy one to pull out for one more year.
Is that state aid secure already? Is that?
So from what Rob had sent us, McLean, I believe that they have a certain amount of money or a certain amount of funds that are already in they're in their account that they're carrying over. So they definitely have the money to be able to do it. The question is, do they want to spend that on something else?
I would want to check to verify that it's not currently. I was under the impression overdrive was being funded within the operating budget. The town will lose the state aid if it removes things that have been funded into the state aid expending. The state aid is meant for extra things. So if we haven't been funding drive, then that would be allowable.
But I think we have been funding overdrive.
Yeah, the difference is that overdrive is what people use to check out books digitally via their ebooks or audiobooks. The overdrive advantage that we're talking about, the 26,000, is the extra licenses that we purchase so that Needham users can cut the line because you have to wait every time that you check out a book. If a lot of people want that book, then you wait. And so Needham pays for additional licenses so that people in Needham can skip the line. And that's what Overdrive Advantage is. And that's the $26,000 that we're talking about. So it's separate from the basic Overdrive that we pay for. I think it's just the additional, how many more books and licenses do we want to pay so people in Needham can cut the line? And that's what they've been testing the last few years. And that's what that money is for.
Yeah,
And it, I mean, it says it had been shifting this from library state aid.
That's correct. The Overdrive, I mean, we're going back to when Ann was here. And we took the basic subscription and moved into the operating.
Right. I do
remember.
remember that, but I think Advantage was always continued to be funded by state aid.
That's correct.
And I looked
That's-
back last year and it was the same, you know, so I don't think they pulled it into the operating budget last year either.
Correct. What I just want to confirm is the fact is that the budget wasn't built with the assumption to put in an extra $26,000 into the operating budget for the Overdrive Advantage. It just where there was confusion by how he was paying for the website. I'm just concerned that there might have been confused. This is the first time he's done a budget in.
No, and, right, and that is the first time he's done this year. And so maybe he's just not familiar with our budget process.
Oh, yeah.
Where I come out on this, I'm convinced we need to fund the extra inspector in the building department. I don't think it's necessarily fair to the library, which provides an equally great service, to sort of use the term, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, kind of nickel and dime them on $26,000. I would recommend that we take the $30,703, which is what we need, and reduce our 1.8 million reserve fund by that amount. So I think we're showing our recognition of the importance of it. And I don't want to play,
Yeah,
again, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but play a game with the library budget over $26,000. I just think it's not the right way
I think that's
to
fair.
treat them.
I agree.
I will still confirm
Well, just,
that fact as well.
okay, but then I guess, Dave, could you also, even if it's de minimis, get the amount for the budgeted number? That, because that would increase
The benefits line.
benefits line. So do we all agree that we're going to fund that extra position?
Yeah, I'm trying to get my calculator going, so what I recommend is for the building, the total on the building department line item. That the 950,120 be increased by 30,703.
That's the total.
That would be the total.
I agree.
And then Dave, you just have to get us the town expense line increase.
Well, the expense line is. It's covering positions anyway, right, Dave? Isn't it sort of a placeholder? So do we actually even need to add something to that?
I'm thinking in this case, no. Maybe, it's $120 increase in the,
You can't have it.
Okay, so then the total amount for the building department, and it would be 980,823.
No question.
980.
823.
Okay,
And then when we get to the, we'll reduce that amount, the 1.8 million when we get to that.
Yeah.
later.
all right.
Sorry, I just wanna make sure you're right on the map, just because I see 30,043. And you said 30,703?
It's with the
That's the
Okay.
expense.
benefit expense,
Okay.
660.
I'm gonna make sure that's right now.
Okay, Minuteman assessment, that,
Right,
That
yeah.
number has gone down from what the town manager was recommending. So, the committee could reduce that number to $2,231,674.
I'm sorry. could you
Wait,
repeat that?
200,
2,000,000.
2,000,000,
$231,674,
okay,
which means you just found $15,098.
Mhm.
I'm sorry,
2,231,674.
674. And again, that's a revised estimate because we don't know.
Oh, that's the number.
they gave-
Oh, that is,
That's-
Yeah,
that
they
is,
gave-
that
schedule.
is the number,
That's their number, yeah.
okay.
so the delta is 17. All right, so you can reduce the,
We get. Oh, that's good news.
yeah,
Okay, thank you, Dave. Moving along, building and design and construction.
No, I think we just, the schools,
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to skip over schools. Needham Public Schools. Town manager is 102,078,656 and
The school committee voted the number as well.
right, school committee voted the number, school department and the town manager have worked hard to get there. I don't have any issue.
I'm
Tina?
fine.
Joe?
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
Okay. Information technology.
it
Again,
was a big jump this year, but those are expenses, you're not gonna see that again, because.
Right.
Right.
Things that are brought into it.
almost fine.
yeah, and that was reduced by the town manager by 100,000. Okay, building design and construction,
See no issue with it.
okay, anyone else? Public Works. Any issues with Public Works?
I mean, yeah, I'm trying to remember what go back to what the DSR 4 is up for.
There were a number of them. There was, ESR 4 for, custodian,
Right,
ESR 4 for
That's
park
right.
ranger. ESR 4 for craft instructor. Student,
And
So
student
what?
insurance, right?
for trades and, engineering.
I mean,
A
custom-
key management system.
right. Mhm. Custodian seems like. Less critical in my view than
Late season.
the inspector, but
Right.
But does that mean that just the one person who cleans this building is cleaning like 5 other schools too?
no,
No.
it's basically one person will do Emery Grover and Memorial Park.
The back, yes, the back going with overtime.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with their budget.
No, I mean, there's nothing that is super critical.
Anybody else?
I'm fine with it.
Municipal parking,
I just had a question on that, and so is that, that's 176,646, is that all salary, or is there expense in there
For
for parking?
All over town, actually.
It's mostly expenses and some for overtime. For when they do the painting and weeding on the weekends.
Where do we find, what we collect on parking meters?
Well, it's also mostly the permit. It's what we get from permits. And
Let me. Usually, information is included in the right.
What I'm getting at, right, it is sort of, is it worthwhile? Is it really worthwhile to have meters? And, I'm not saying we need to answer that now, but I'm just wondering overall if the expense is worth the revenues.
The. Again, this page for, parking lots. And for areas that are needed, it includes lots of free spaces as well. So the cost is not just limited to, not just limited to the parking meter spots, but the full parking lots. In town.
John,
I
another
wouldn't
thing,
go that way.
another thing with that is I think we are investing in a app so that you don't have to use the meters with coins. So to your thought, like if the meters aren't producing enough revenue, I'd question, should we invest in the pay by the app
Yes.
as well? It's another expense.
So the contract for the paid parking app, the application where you can pay on your phone, does not cost the town anything right
Nothing,
now.
okay.
No, it's only,
No.
the passes cost through to the parker.
The fees that go on top of what you pay for the parking, pay for the cost of the app.
But that doesn't allow the town to reduce their costs in any way. It's just a convenience to the user, right?
Correct.
Yes, correct. Cause we're keeping the coins.
Okay.
I don't mean to hold it up, it was a question.
No, I think you get rid of paid parking, you're gonna have, given that we have the trains, you just get cars sitting there all day.
They would be, because they do now.
Right, wherever they can. In the few places that they can,
They do.
they do.
I think they park on Bay Street.
Your friend-
Okay,
Your friend will come back,
Yeah,
John.
he'll be back.
Health and Human Services, that is going up just by wages and salary increase, and then the 3 ARPA-related positions that were half in last year, and they're in the budget for the
Tim
entire
was
year.
very happy not to have to deal with DSR fours this year.
What?
So Tim was very happy not to have to deal with DSR fours.
So did anyone read their submission? He's so proud of the fact that he turned back $38.02. And I said, he said, well, because I thought you said that we needed to spend our budget, like we needed to not turn back so much cash. No, I think you missed the point, but.
He'll work for the federal government.
But I thought that was impressive enough, so Health and Human Services, Commission on Disabilities.
Historical publishing. In library.
All right, so library. You're gonna need confirmation on that, Dave?
And we'll get a confirmation.
Okay. So on Park and Rec. I just started putting in numbers. I had no idea if that's what we're gonna do, but I don't. Have a problem per se with the Park and Rec budget, but I do have a problem with their. Lack of disclosure of information. Because. Well. We don't really know, I mean, they didn't have the data that we wanted on Rosemary. We have no idea what Rosemary really costs to operate, so if somebody asked us, like, Rosemary is supposedly operating at a deficit. But I don't know what that is. Shouldn't we know what that is? And you know, I don't wanna.
Didn't John ask for P&L? Did we ever get that?
Not yet.
No, not yet. So if we could get
Yeah.
some information. I don't, you know, I think we need to be more transparent, just in general. So, Memorial Park. What's wrong with Memorial Park?
I would just say too, given that there's a lot of fees that they charge, I think it would be interesting and helpful for us to see for the pool, for the fields, for things like that, because they are one of the departments that brings in more fees. And I didn't see that there was a lot of transparency in how they determine what those are. And how they decide and whether they cover the costs of allowing, you know, teams and sports to come and use the field. So I think that would be helpful in the future.
Well, all their programs, except for the pool, go through their revolving fund.
Right.
So they're limited to what they can spend on the amount they take in for the revolving fund. That has to be self-sustaining. And then the pool is something different. Those revenues go into the general fund, correct?
They do.
And wasn't there talk of us moving the pool? Maybe Dave can elaborate on that, but would we be putting, if we move some of the pool expenses, would we be putting the fees from the pool also into that future fund? Didn't we talk about like some of the capital expenses for the pool going into the stabilization fund?
The athletic
Yes, okay,
stabilization fund.
yes, in fact, the special town meeting, in May, there will be an article to, amend the athletic, facility stabilization fund, to, incorporate the pool, replacement of, putting monies aside for, capital equipment replacements for the pool. That's pumps, the
Mhm.
umbrellas, things like that. And we will be looking at having a percentage of the Rosemary receipts to go directly into the fund. I'm working out those specifics within the next 10 days, but it will be appearing in the special town meeting warrant.
Okay.
So short answer, Ally, is yes.
So even more
Thanks.
reason to get that information. Okay.
And sort of like, if they have a projection over, like we do with the turf, we know that the turf's likely to cost us X in 10 years. So we know what to plan and what we think capital budget over, a long 5 to 10 year frame.
That's exactly what I'm waiting on, is
Okay.
for what they estimate the costs are to replace. Based upon the useful life of this equipment.
Yeah.
They're gonna give me a number, and that's gonna tell me what percentage of the Rosemary pool receipt should be earmarked towards the athletic stabilization fund. That's why I don't have that number, because I'm still
Okay.
waiting for that information as well.
From Stacy.
From Park and Recreation.
Okay. All right, great. Can we just move to townwide expenses? And Dave, nothing has changed here since the town manager's recommendation, right?
No, nothing has changed.
So general insurance. I mean, these are they are what they are. I don't
Right.
think there's much we can do about any of these.
Well, the only ones that, have some degree of flexibility is group health insurance, workers' compensation, and classification and performance. And where the flexibility is if you cut positions and you can
Right.
cut this,
Well, in
but if you
theory,
don't cut the positions, you can't. It's,
in theory,
Right.
OPEB is something that's somewhat,
no, I know OPEB's like retirement, the assessment is the assessment. We have to fund according to the actuarial formula in order to continue to get that
we could change our
kudos from
assumptions.
Standard and Poor's that we're
Okay.
funding.
Right,
through,
and maintaining their
those
triple A rating.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
okay, fair enough. But if we change our assumptions, we change the,
Most of the assumptions are done by the actuaries, life expectancies,
but the interest rate, for example,
that doesn't come, the interest rate, correct.
or is that just for the pension?
No, the interest rates, because you're assuming what you're earning
Right, correct.
on the trust fund. And we have lowered it to be realistic, at 6.25%, and that's what,
Oh, I'm not advocating, but in theory, if we lowered it, and I'm not saying we should actually, but
oh, if you lower the rate, then you have to increase your assessment.
I'll raise the rate.
Right,
Right,
you have to rate,
right, I'm sorry.
we've been
right.
going the other
Yeah,
way
yeah,
now,
yes,
working
yeah.
hard to
Yes.
get it down to where it's realistic.
And then disingenuous, because if you don't return that rate.
Yeah.
Then the taxpayers in the future are gonna get clobbered.
Right. So,
So on this sheet, my proposal, the only number we should change is the reserve fund amount.
right,
To reduce that by the 30,703 that we're putting into the building inspector.
Or it's really
Do we need to-
30 to 15, but like 15 from.
Minuteman.
Oh,
right, so what is the,
It's just the net.
right,
right,
so I get a difference, a minimum difference of 15,098, is that,
That's correct, $15,098.
so whatever the 30,000 and change minus 15 would be
15, what is it?
098.
It's 30,703.
50.
15,605. What I get?
Mhm.
So we would reduce the $1,800,000 reserve fund by $15,605.
Yep. Okay,
So with those amendments, I make a motion that we approve the FY 26 operating budget.
but,
I'll
and again,
second.
so you're going to, Dave, get some clarification on the library.
And are we also gonna get some P&L statements from Park and Rec?
Yeah, that's kind of outside of this budget,
Okay.
but
Just a
Yeah.
follow-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
does anybody want to,
I would second this.
okay. We'll take a roll call vote. Paul,
Yes,
Tina,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes,
Lydia, and the chair votes yes. Oh,
And Ally, yes.
sorry, Ally. I didn't see ahead. I just saw your name. Messing up.
I'm still floating over here.
where are you?
I'm in Sugar Bush, Vermont.
Okay,
So what's the timing is then from here, Carl? You prepare your letter.
I'm preparing my short letter, which I'll finish now that I have these numbers, and I'll send it to you tomorrow. Does that work? Or-
That works.
Okay. And then the longer letter is due when?
March 15th.
That's what I thought. Okay. Okay. And then moving to the warrant. Okay, so the first up is to appropriate for classification and compensation study.
So, Madam Chair, as was, discussed at the prior meeting last week. This is, funding to hire a consultant to, look at the compensation and classification schedule of the town for, positions, outside of, public safety. This is done, from, time to time to ensure that the rates are competitive. And now with the extra burden, requirement with the passage of the State Bar Equity Act in terms of, pay disclosures that our rates are reflecting similar skills and skill sets or experience requirements that are being compensated at the same level, and helps us to attract and retain employees. And this is.
And it's something that the town does every 5 years, is that right?
3 to 5 years. We haven't done anything since COVID.
Okay,
But
Isn't that a function of the HR department at all?
this is to have an outside check over. This also gives assurance to town meeting and taxpayers, like someone other than someone internally
Got it,
is doing everything. So it's also an external check on
got it,
things as well.
okay.
And Tatiana is on if you want me to.
Oh, certainly,
Oh, okay.
Madam Chair, make a motion that the finance committee recommends adoption of the warrant article. Appropriate for classification and compensation study, in the amount of $120,000. Be raised or transferred from free cash.
second,
I'll second.
great. Let's just take a roll call vote on that. Paul,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Ally,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Lydia, Barry,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next one is the property tax assistance program.
Madam Chair, this is the annual article. It's at the same amount, at $50,000. The appropriation from last year has not been dispersed yet because the timeline for submitting applications has just opened up. But in the prior 2 fiscal years, for fiscal 24, there were a total of 34 applicants, which 30 were deemed eligible for assistance. And the committee had awards that ranged between between $1,800 and a low of $300. In the prior year to that, for FY 23.
So did you expend the total?
Yes, the total
50,000?
50,000. Yeah, the full amount gets expended each year.
Do you expect that to go up with the increase in taxes?
It could, again, it depends on whether they're qualified. And again, the important thing to remember is 30% of the households actually have a lower tax bill in FY 25 than they had in FY 24. So. FY 23, same thing, with, in this year, there were 36 applicants, which 33 were eligible and received awards.
Is the 50,000 inclusive or in addition to
The donations,
the donation, in addition to?
in addition to, And the range of awards was between the highest was $1,700 and the lower was $264.45.
Dave, do you recall the last time that amount was raised to 50,000? When was the last time?
It's been several years. I don't remember. It's been 50,000 for at least four
4 or 5, yeah.
or five.
Didn't
It was
it get
20
raised during COVID?
It may have-
Or is that the building? Am I thinking about the building, the small repairs grant?
Oh, I think there was a small repair that raised up at COVID. Because it went up to 50,000 when I think that was right
Yeah.
before COVID. What it was originally was the match, whatever was raised by the private donations.
Right,
But
it used to
okay.
be a match.
But then, the private donations were actually going down. And the select board went to $50,000
Flat.
flat. And would look at increasing it if the donations get up and.
And what are the donations?
11,000.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that the finance committee recommend adoption of the warrant article appropriate for need and property tax assistance program.
Second,
Okay, Paul,
Yes,
Tina?
Yes.
Ally?
Yes,
Joe?
yes.
Karen? Yes.
Yes.
Barrett?
Yes,
Lydia? Yes. And the chair votes yes. Public facilities maintenance program.
Madam Chair, same thing. This is the annual warrant article for funding the public facilities, which it deals with the various repairs and extraordinary maintenance done on school and town buildings during the year. It's level dollar at $1 million for FY 26. And in the prior year appropriations, we're still expending monies from last year. Actually just started spending monies from last year, but the last few years, it's been involved in paying costs associated with flooring, with cleaning, repairs to ramps at RRC. And a lot of work on boiler issues at the high school and Mitchell School, the cupola. And Barry's here, if you have any specific questions about the repairs.
Barry, is this amount, I know this amount hasn't changed over time, is this? You find this adequate for what you need to do, or,
Yes,
okay.
I do.
What is it, do we always fund it half with the levy and half with free cash? Is that, I don't recall doing it this way.
And that's what we had available for revenues is what we, is what I was able to make this do. This is considered recurring, so we.
Right.
It tends to want to be tax levy, but it hasn't always been able to do tax levy this year in particular, but this was one of the articles that's basically used up the balance of the available tax levy.
Got it.
Okay.
hey guys, sorry, I may drop off for a few minutes. If you don't see
Okay.
me, I'll come back on if you're still on. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any,
No, I think just a request for whoever presents on it, if we could get like the schedule of the repairs in case someone at town meeting asks us.
There usually is a description, I think in the past for what these are.
I don't think I don't think it goes into the warrant though, Barry.
I thought it, okay,
I don't, because I think this is pretty much how it reads in the warrant.
Well, that article, there will be a description of the types of expenditures,
Yeah,
but
but not-
more
not
but
specific.
there's not a specific list.
We'll
Yeah.
make sure we have that for you.
Again, not for the warrant, but for whoever amongst us.
For whoever has it.
And maybe to that point, if you had a list of what you've expended on now for fiscal year 25
Correct.
as well.
I mean, but it's a warrant article because it usually straddles.
It does
fiscal
go over
years.
Right.
a couple of fiscal years, correct?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that the Finance Committee recommend adoption of the warrant article entitled, appropriate for public facilities maintenance program.
I'll second that.
Paul,
Yes,
Tina,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
John,
Yes,
Lydia. Yeah. Barry,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes, and I don't think Ally's there, just her name. Okay. That is passed. Sewer and water enterprise. Budgets.
Madam Chair, what you see in the warrant on pages, on page 6. The tables is the same figures that the liaisons would have, seen when they met with the DPW for, sewer and for water. The sewer, budget is up 1.6%. And the water budget is up 3.11%. However, they do not reflect what the assessments will be for FY 26. We won't know that till later. We won't know what their final assessments are until later in the year. And just as we've done in past prior years, that would be a special town meeting action
in October.
in October. You know, to shore up. To adjust the budget.
So would it be correct to say then, Dave, that the line items in each of the budgets for MWRA assessment are basically sort of placeholders?
Yes, they, and we leveled all of them until we know the actual dollar.
And so that will be a October town meeting.
Yes, in all likelihood, it'll be in October.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that the Finance Committee recommend adoption of, the two warrant articles, one being the sewer enterprise fund budget and the other being the water enterprise fund budget.
I'll second.
Great, let's take a vote. Tina,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes,
Karen. Yes. John,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Lydia. Lydia, yes, okay, and the chair votes yes, great. Elliott School boiler replacement,
You know what page that would be on?
yeah, where is that one?
It is on page 33.
Thank you. So this is the sort of the last of ones. We had Broad Meadow Design, Broad Meadow Boiler, Elliott Design. All those three have been funded already. The Broad Meadow Boiler's in. This is sort of the last part. This is the expense for purchasing and installing the Elliott boiler.
Yeah, this is the construction phase or the completion
The
phase.
Broad Meadow boilers on it. That's after the rooftop unit replacements this summer. I'm gonna do the
Okay.
same, like I'm doing with the Elliott, the rooftop units were replaced this past summer, and now I'm replacing the boilers.
We
and then-
funded the primary.
The rooftop units.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, this is a boiler.
This is the
Yeah,
boiler.
this is the boilers.
For my own education, why is this broken out from the public facilities maintenance program? Is it because it's not,
It's capital,
okay? Thank you.
and how old is that boiler? Is it,
They're past their useful life. They're approaching 18 years, I believe.
Yeah.
okay,
So,
Is it the original boiler from the
Yes.
Elliott
Yeah.
school? Oh, it's even older than that.
Yeah, maybe it is older than that.
It's like 25. years
Yeah,
old.
I'm sorry, yeah, it is. It's over 20 years old. So, and they continue to fail, constantly pulling them apart and reselling them, so I'm replacing.
no more gum?
Doesn't work anymore.
So, Madam Chair, I would make a motion that the Finance Committee recommend adoption of the warrant article entitled appropriate for Elliott School boiler replacement. In the amount of $560,000 dollars. To be paid from free cash.
1 second.
Thank you. Paul,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Lydia, yes, Barry,
Yeah.
and the chair votes yes. Right,
We want to go to page 39. Yep.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you.
thank you.
Barry, just out of curiosity, do you know when we first started this project, that these prices, where these prices fall relative to what we thought they'd be at the beginning?
So I've been noticing that we use a professional estimating service and oftentimes, to believe it or not, and this has been throughout the last several years, we get estimates that are over what they come in at. And I think that's their professional estimating services. They don't wanna, keep us short, so they typically do overestimate, but same thing with the high school boilers. They were overestimated. They came in under what the estimates were, and the Elliott boilers are the same way. So they are coming in under the professional estimates.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious with that lull in general construction, whether we're seeing prices come down.
The bids have been fairly competitive.
The
too.
bids are definitely competitive.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, it is. And it stays that way.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, Barry. You gonna speak to this one, Dave?
I am. This actually came in, I actually mentioned it at last week's meeting as well. This is to amend the town's bylaws that will allow us to enter into contracts buying electricity supply, natural gas supply, and energy resources. For contract up to 5 years. Currently, both of them, they're limited at 3 years. But fuel, propane and oil, we can purchase for 5 years. I've been finding that when we go out to bid for supplies, that 3 years puts us at a disadvantage. For instance, the natural gas contract that we just renewed. It ended up doing a shorter term for 30, the difference between 36 months and 38 months, it was a 10% difference in cost.
Huh.
But of course, I could not go 36 months with the hope that we would be able to have a longer period of time to contract for. I entered into a contract that's about a year and a half.
Okay,
With the idea that by the time we have to go back out to bid again,
This would have-
I'll have a 5-year window to work with.
what would it have been if you would been able to go up 5 years?
I think, and no one bid that far out.
Okay,
The farthest we got was 48 months, but 38 months was a sweet spot in that particular bid.
Hmm.
So, but that doesn't mean 38 is always good.
right,
It just, when we went out to bid, that was the rate, and that was the lowest point. And I said this, the other line to increase is we're just a clarification. We have the ability to have software and maintenance agreements for a period of 10 years. But with software, so much of it is out in the cloud, and vendors are keeping the software on a server hosting services. To me, I would think that's ancillary, but some people say, oh no, that's an extra service. And since your contract languages doesn't say hosting services, you can only do 3 years. Which effectively, from that interpretation, means I can only have software subscriptions for 3 years. Because obviously, Microsoft is not gonna have Apple maintain their software on their
Mhm.
system. So we're just doing a clarification and adding hosting agreements to that sentence.
oh,
And it seems like the one above you're adding as well, from just purchase of oil and fuel to sort of saying energy sources.
Right.
In general, which would include electricity, fuel,
Electricity.
propane, natural gas, oil.
Correct.
So I understand the addition of the wording on both of those, but I'm confused. I thought you said it was 3, but it looks like it's 5 now and remaining is 5 on the oil one or the energy one. And the same thing down below, it says 10 and 10. So are we keeping the years the same or changing them?
We're keeping the years the same. because it's just that I'm broadening the number of items that are covered under that sentence.
Okay, all
So
right, so the years, it's already 5 in there.
it's 5 for oil and for gasoline
Okay.
and for fuel, I'm adding to that electricity, natural gas.
Which would have been 3 otherwise, without. the-
I see.
Yes.
Okay. And so the same thing on the software licensing,
And maintenance agreements are already 10 years.
10 years, when you're adding
And
hosting.
hosting services to that.
Thank you for that. And while we're at it, are there any other buzzwords you think we should add or that people are seeing out there, so we don't do this again next year?
I can't guarantee you won't do something next year, but these are the buzzwords that have been an issue now for the last
Okay.
14 months.
So I would make a motion that the finance committee recommend adoption of the warrant article entitled amend general bylaws contract procedures as set forth in our draft warrant.
Second,
Okay, Paul,
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Ally,
Yes.
Joe,
yes.
Karen? Yes. Sean,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Lydia, and the chair votes yes. Great, so in terms of further meetings, we're just gonna try to get through most of the warrant articles through March. You think that's fair? We'll be able to,
Yes, I would assume the standard ones that you'll have to wait till April is your zoning,
Yeah,
probably your citizen petitions. And probably CPC.
CPC is coming for something, March 5th, but maybe it's something different.
That's a consultation, but the finance committee never votes until CPC makes their recommendations.
right. And what's the timing on the zoning articles?
I do not know, but I'm just going by past experience that it's usually
I mean, given that,
usually there's changes right up until April. So I mean, the base compliance, of course, is not, it should be straightforward, but there's some other zoning language, there's some other zoning articles, and that's where I'm thinking the time would take, and usually you take them all up at the same night they come.
okay,
So am I hearing you then that we will not meet next Wednesday, but plan on the following Wednesday?
I wasn't sure. I thought like, can we do that? That's my question. Probably we could skip a week, right?
Oh, yes, March, because of just the way the calendar works. You know, Right, yes, I would, say, which is Ash Wednesday. Or, no, sorry, it's the 26th. Yeah, I think the committee could take a week off.
We don't have to meet, but we will meet on the 5th, and then I would plan on the 4 weeks in March.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, it's a thick one, so.
Right. Okay. And Molly, we can work on an agenda for the 5th. Okay. Any other issues, comments?
so no meeting next week.
No meeting next week. Anybody have any updates on anything? No,
No, the bylaw committee is gonna meet on Monday, the 24th.
okay,
And everybody's been assigned a section and kind of going over it that way, so.
the town manager selection committee, I think is meeting Monday. So. Paul, you haven't had any more meetings of your Envision Needham,
Not since our last meeting, no.
okay. Tina, how about the large house review?
Meeting on the 3rd.
Okay. All right,
We have a chairs meeting tomorrow with CPC and the select board, about the medium housing authorities,
Oh, yeah.
seabeds and the, possible need for additional borrowing, for the Seabeds Robert Cook project. So we'll have a meeting on that.
One of the sources that they were getting is gone.
And then there was a lawsuit, not involving Needham, but that affected funding, and this is a whole complicated thing, so we're gonna go as listeners tomorrow. And then, we'll be able to report back at our next meeting on that. I think it goes with what the CPC said before, that there's more applications than there is money. That's why,
Okay, great,
so I'll make a motion to adjourn.
great,
Second,
okay. Paul,
Yes.
Gina.
Yep.
Ally,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Karen,
yes.
John,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Lydia. Yes. Your chair votes yes, we are adjourned. Gina, Paul, Ally, enjoy the rest of your vacation.
And have fun at
You
work.
too. Bye.